Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does!
And that might be the knockout punch.
Greetings and salutations. Another episode of Fangs up here, and it's been pretty fun, y'all. Okay, not gonna lie, been an interesting couple of days. If you are a fan viewing at least, I look so interesting. I didn't even put up the jerseys today. The jerseys and the shirt go today, so we all not that in the background today. We still always, always repping. Still got my guy over there. But today we're going to talk about the Southern game. It's called Pull Out a Stick. If you're not familiar, Baton Rouge, it's called Red Stick because Baton Rouge translates to red stick in French. I'm not going to give you the whole history diagram. This is not my U.S. history class. This is the Fangs Up podcast. So we're going to talk about that, kind of look at who I think will win the game, why, and kind of where we're going to get there. Not going to lie, I don't have who I'm going to win this game yet. Just where I'm at with it. I'm leaning towards FAMU, but we'll see that's going to be an interesting one. Now, I will go ahead and address the elephant in the room, but first, shout out to HBCU Digital Network. This is home to Herb Seward and the Black Techies, also home to the Fangs Up podcast. Man, appreciate y'all for checking us out. Elephant in the room, though. Man, we all saw the video, what is taking place on campus, and some of the responses. And y'all notice my response is a little lighter, a lot quieter, partially because one of my big things is I want to be right. I ain't gonna lie. Like I'm very big on being right. I'm the type of person that if I know I'm not right, I won't argument sometimes. Like I'm not gonna argue with you just for sake. I'm not one of those. And I do believe in that little Jay-Z quote, nobody wins when the family feuds. So I'm definitely probably going to get a little more on that just because, call out some of us, but I'm also going to kind of make it known that, sometimes we got to chill out because some of us aren't in some of those conversations and don't know all the stuff that happens. Or when you do get in some of those rooms, man, it's interesting. I'll say that. I will say the least but if you haven't seen the video by local artists, well, not local me, local Tallahassee, Boston Ricky, and outside of town, kind of talking about some stuff. And I ain't gonna lie, I don't like the song. I don't like his rhyme patterns. It doesn't work for me. And you know what? It's not for me. Let me say that right now. That song was not catered towards me and those who don't take in that version of rap. But for the students, I mean, it vibes. They like him. He's popular. He's very over. Fun fact: that's not his first time in the locker room. During the season, he was around campus. Supposedly, he's very popular around the city. If you listen to what Ron Wilson posted on there, and I mean, obviously, Ron's Tallahassee, a couple hundred miles away. So I go up there to go home, go up there to go see family, go there for FAMU events and activities. But outside of that, it is what it is. My hand on the pulse of the city like that, like I used to. But supposedly he's a pretty popular artist and gets over with students. You're able to see that somehow he gets in the locker room, whether it's between students, somebody else, but he shoots the video, doesn't get what it appears he doesn't have proper permissions. I want to say it like that because what I don't want to say is something as a matter of fact, and then I get egg on my face for being like, well, you said, like, well, I assumed, like, no, y'all know what happens when you assume. But part of the issue is the subject matter. Just we got it. Let's call a spade a spade. In the video, if you watch the music video and you listen, I'm one of those. I don't listen to a lot of the modern hip hop. I'm listening to what they're saying, and you listen to what he's saying, and some of the areas he's talking about, it's kind of like, hold up, man, we're trying to uplift the South Side. Like I know for me, when I come home, I normally drop some coins on the south side. If I don't, I'm gonna go on one of my sides of town, but I'm gonna make sure I try to do something on the south side, even though I'm not from the south side. I grew up on both sides. I'm from the north side. My mom's from the south side. My mom's from Holton Street. So I grew up on Holton Street as a kid, like over there across from the Robinson's grocery store. That's my mom's old house. I was. So it's not like, oh snap, nah, I ain't speaking evil on the other south side. Want it. And first place my parents owned off of Rich Road. So it's not even like anything like that. Is definitely love for the south side. I make sure when I come home I show love to all sides of the city, but especially the south side, because I know what it's like. I know some of us don't venture over there when we come home. We act like it's not a part of the city, you know. Nah, grew up over there, went to church over there, still loyal. North end side of town, east, west, whatever. Tallahassee is home. But, you know, part of the issue with the song is just the subject matter. Like he's talking about shooting people, stuff like this. And if you're not familiar, Coach Simmons' son was involved, one of his sons was involved in a shooting incident. So it's kind of like, man, not only is this kind of off brand, but it's, yo, like, you got to read the room a little bit, just kind of make sure what you're talking about is stuff that may not hit a source area there. So, and I haven't talked to coach about that, but it's something that's obviously there. Um, Anywho's, that's all I got on that. I'm really, y'all notice I didn't say much about it. I did. You can go get that from other people. We're gonna go to the Southern game though, because I don't want to talk about that. Just because I ain't really trying to get somebody else. Especially when that ain't my state. That ain't my steez. But the FAMU versus Southern game. This is, while I said the Alabama State was the best home game to go to, this is probably the best game of the season outside of the Orange Blossom Classic. And I think it may be better than the Orange Blossom Classic just because the matchups. Like this is gonna be one of those games where when you, me, and anybody else are watching, we're gonna notice that these two teams are pretty evenly matched. Right? And that's not gonna happen every game this season. I think you got really 3 games where FAMU is kind of evenly matched against the opponent. OBC, I don't think we're evenly matched. I'm gonna be real with you. There's at that point in the season, you're not evenly matched. If that game is 6 weeks later, I think it's a different game. I have a different outset on it. Yeah, some of the FAMU by 20 is petty, but a lot of it's real. Like I really believe it. But I think by this point in the season, you have to watch Southern because I think Dooley's first season, he kind of learned what he had and what he didn't have at Southern. Being honest, I think he kind of realized quick quarterback he came in with was not the quarterback he should have rode with. And you go back and watch his preseason projection, talking about his quarterback, he's like, yeah, by the end of the season, quarterback that may start is kind of listed as the guy that, yeah, he's the guy. Like he by the end of the season, he looks pretty solid. So Harold Blood, sorry. I had to pull up the website for them. And it's not a slight again. I'm a FAMU, not a Southernite. So that's gonna be your quarterback though. And I think I'll be honest with you, if Harold Blood starts that game or someone of that caliber, I shouldn't say that. But if I think it's a different game because last year's game, it wasn't it. I mean, let me say that to say the least. And I kind of want to make sure I'm talking. So I'm gonna put this here. So yeah, like that game's gonna be interesting. Partially because of the time of the year. That's an October game. October the 3rd, FAMU will be playing that game. And a lot of times you don't realize about Baton Rouge is that it can get cold there. I'm not gonna lie. When I've gone to Baton Rouge, when it's not in the summertime, it can get chilly. Like when we went to the FAMU game growing up, it was cold. Like by the fourth quarter, it was like, yeah, this is not comfortable. I'm glad we brought jackets. Like Louisiana gets cooler than you really think it is. Like a lot of times you think it's humid and tropical. Baton Rouge get cold. this can be one of those games where it might get a little cooler than you think it is, and that weather and temperature coming right off the Mississippi like that, it's a temperature change for me. It's just my experience when I go to Baton Rouge. The closer you got to the water, the colder it was. It kind of just something about sucking the heat out of the area. That can be an affect that game, especially depending. Like this is a great game at night. FAMU Southern should always be a night game. It is just FAMU Southern looks different at night. I'm just gonna tell you, I've been to FAMU Southern day games. I've been to FAMU Southern night games. The FAMU Southern game should always start at like 6 p.m., 5 p.m. Because in the fourth quarter, I want that game to be in the light. Whether it's somebody's up or close, it's always a tight battle. This is probably gonna be one of your best games of the season. And last year's game was solid. Like we'll look at the final score and some of the stats, but this is gonna be that game where you're gonna wanna either get the Rattler TV network or the Southern's network. Southern has a network of their own as well, where you're gonna wanna watch that game. That's gonna be one that is gonna be fun, and especially if the 100 comes. Last year, the Human Jukebox did not come, and you can get mad at that if you want to. I'm not because I think that was the week before the Boombox. So you're asking a lot. In this case, FAMU's got Valley the week before. I'm gonna say this: unless somebody's got some serious coin that they're just gonna pay for the 100 to go to Valley, that's not. It's a no. I'm gonna tell you that now. This is one of those trips, where Southern might draw fans. 100. Like this is one of those you kind of look forward to. Stay in battle. Like this is one of our rivals, band wise. To me, this is one of our rivals. I really got two band rivals personally. Wait, you asked me, is Cookman Southern? I don't put Jackson State in there because I don't see them as a rival. I see them as a good band. Like respect, like I don't want anybody to sit up here and be like, "Oh, you just don't stop doing South." No, no, no. I respect them and what they do. I'm just saying for me as a fan, that's not a band that you would tell me I think is a rival for FAMU. I think the Marching 101 is because they always come in here and it's a fun battle. You see a lot of the same moves. We kind of they imitate us. I'll say that in a lot of ways. It's just that's one that I would say, okay, that's right there. But our main ones, Southern and Cook, those are the two bands where you're gonna see us crank. Like it's gonna be like, oh, you did this, I have to respond. FAMU has ignored Jackson State before. I went to that first OBC a few years ago. Not first, but the first reinstallment of the OBC. We ignored them. They were blowing, and it's like, and they just played on time God, and it's like, oh, okay, well, cool. This is not going to be one of those. This is one of those games where when the band plays, somebody's paying attention. So that hopefully is going to be one of our 3 to 4 band trips that they make. Hopefully, obviously, OBC, Southern, USF are my 3. If you have another one, go for it. But I don't think the band makes that trip to Houston, even though we kind of owe that. Like, go back to that year when Texas Southern played at FAMU. The Marching 100, I'm sorry, the Ocean of Soul in Tallahassee. I mean, I'm just saying, like that was one of the things that go back to ONG strikes on that they talked about us owing some of those teams. But last season's game was 30-16, and please help us with these jerseys. I don't know. I worked that game, and it was hard to see those jerseys. So yeah, look, I ain't working that game this year, but that was hard. But 30-16, 17 and 9 at half. Southern was truthfully a quarterback away. And why do I say that? Because Southern's quarterback, I don't know why I'm saying Golden, Southern's quarterback ran for more yards than he threw for. He ran for about 200 yards. Southern barely had 100 yards passing. And I mean, no disrespect, but it was solid in the pocket as far as running. But throwing, it just wasn't it. And you could see where Southern won the stat in that game when it came to who ran pass more. I don't think you're gonna see that. I think last year's film, trash. I don't know if you even watched that film for anything more than to look at some of the scheme or some of the plays. I shouldn't say scheme. Some of the plays they're gonna run. Whereas I think if you're gonna look at X's and O's scheme that they're gonna utilize, I would look more toward the end of the season, what you got from that. Also, I would go back to Dooley's previous coaching stops and maybe look at some of that. But I think when you look at last year's Southern team, this is another one of those games where I'm going to give you the stats, I'm going to give you data, but it doesn't matter as much as what's going to happen that season. And the benefit for FAMU is this is Southern's fourth game of the season, and it really comes at a good time for them. I mean, this game for Southern is after Pine Bluff, and if you're a Pine Bluff fan, don't take this the wrong way, but you're just not the best team in the conference. You're not the best team in the conference, and you got a new football coach, so it's gonna be a struggle against a team in Southern that's been able to utilize the transfer portal, that's also been able to have a second year installing his offense, to have a coach who's has previous coaching experience, who's coming back with a lot of players and some improvements and a better quarterback. I don't think that week before Southern struggles against Pine Bluff. And if they do, it's gonna be a shocker. Like that's gonna be one of those. That's a game you really want Southern to be competitive in the week before, but not blow them out, if that makes sense. Because if Southern blows out Pine Bluff, then they're just the second half, the players are just getting fresh. Whereas if that game is tight, it means they have to remain focused, but at the same point, they still got to play the full game. Whereas if that game's a blowout and it's they coming in, we got you coming next week, we good. Like it's a lot more of that. Personally, I don't want us walking into that. Southern's gonna be a good team. And this I got them first or second in the West for me. I mean, I think they may be one of the better teams out of that Western division. Top three at least, for sure. Um, Coming out of there. This could be a rematch of the SWAC championship. I mean, in the SWAC championship. I apologize. So, but again, last year, their offense. Last year, Southern's offense, it was a run mess. Quarterback had more yards than passing, and defense turnovers were huge. Like we had a late fumble, the guy gets flipped, kind of hits his head, lose the ball near the goal line, and you get the ball. This game was closer than you would think just the final score. And going into this year, I think something similar. Like kind of look at points per game. Southern had 31 points per game. I put an asterisk there. If you were watching Brian and AD Drew just now, hey, Brian pointed out how prolific the Southern offense was. I'm like, put an asterisk there because the same thing I'm going to say about Southern is the same thing I will allow you to say about you if we are leading the conference in stats, especially if it is against teams like West Florida and Lincoln. Southern had 2 games where they hit over 50 points. One of them was against Flomo, Miss Williams. The other was against Virginia University of Lynchburg. So you're talking a Division II team and a team that's not even Division II. Dropped 80 something on Flomo. So 86 on Flomo, I think 50 something on Lynchburg, 40 something on Pine Bluff, and Pine Bluff that was kind of disastrous. So you're starting to see like, okay, they got a lot of stats. Let's see stats against quality opponents. And when you kind of look at that, it's a little bit of that come to earth moment. Like, okay, they were solid, but it just wasn't as good. Like, it just wasn't. You go back and when you look at last year's stats, man, I, I'll hit go again because I had it up. They did go 7-5. Uh, they Texas Southern, they shut them out, you know. But Prairie View dropped 45. They got the Alcorn. They got 21 points. Jackson State, Southern got shut out. Valley with 21 points. Grambling, they beat them pretty easily. So, all right. But those are some of the teams. Grambling didn't have a great season last year. Valley, I mean, you started to look and see like Southern ate against teams that they were supposed to eat, but when it was comparable opponents, they didn't do quite as well. But they're still a good team. They finished the year running 200 yards per game and passed for 196 yards per game. But the other thing is gonna be penalties. And this is gonna be the biggest bugaboo with me as a FAMU fan for a long time. Penalty yards. FAMU is notoriously a heavily penalized. I don't know what it is. You can say it's discipline, whatever you want to call it. We get penalties. We just do. And Southern was heavily penalized to average 70 yards of penalties per game. That sways the game. Like 70 yards, that can sway the game left or right. And especially considering 5 yards from 10, 15, 70 per game means some of those games you went over that. And this is one of those games where you're gonna want to watch out for that. Watch out for who gets penalties, who gets turnovers, because we all know, especially when emotions start getting involved, heavens forbid the band is there, noise is rocking, but it becomes an atmosphere. You are concerned about the other things in the game. Now, when it comes to who I'm looking at position for position, I don't normally, I do this for some. Southern's one of those ones I'm gonna do this for. Quarterback wise, if I'm going position for position, I'm going FAMU. I'm sorry. Like, say what you want to, but it's close. I think Blood's better than some people give him credit for. I really do. I just think that I don't think he's the top four. I don't think he's top two quarterbacks in the conference. But I don't think he's going to just come up here and not be that good. That's just me. I could be wrong, and that's partially because I did watch Southern's quarterback play last year, and I was like sitting there, and I was like, I can't be a fan right now, but when we pause, I'm gonna become a fan and ask this man a question. Like I asked him, what's going on with y'all's quarterback? Why is he playing? And the guy next to me goes, I don't know. I've asked that question all season. And so that's probably my bias. I'll own my bias. When I'm biased, I'm gonna tell you. My biased opinion, I think FAMU's got the position at quarterback. Running back wise, I want to go with FAMU, and I do understand that statistically, Southern's got it. I'm gonna stick with Southern though. I mean, only reason I want to go with Southern is because I know our offensive line looks better, our running backfield looks better. We're so much deeper than we were in previous years, but the running game was constantly a struggle last year. And so I'm gonna say I got Southern there. Receiver, I'm going back to Southern. I believe it or not, Southern's receivers were pretty solid. I mean, considering what they had to deal with, they weren't bad. I think FAMU's receivers are faster. And I know that's controversial now because I know they from some of the boys in Louisiana, we from Florida. I know we don't not like each other, but we have a healthy rivalry about who's got the better athletes. I'm always gonna say Florida, but I think I don't know. I'm gonna say this at receiver. I'm gonna go with Southern for now, just because how much production FAMU lost, and it's not again a doubting of our receivers. It's the fact that one receiver had how many thousands of yards? Not how many thousands, but about 15, so 1,000, 1,500,000 plus yards. The next closest receiver has close to 500. I mean, I'm just looking at stats. That's it. Now, offensive line wise, I'm gonna go Fam, and I'm going there because of depth. I do understand you got Goss at tackle, you got some other guys, but I think Goss is an all-SWAC player. I think Amy's offensive line in general is going to be able to do some things. But Southern got some solid D linemen that they brought in through the transfer portal. One is a Jackson State guy that played at Jackson State previously, and I think that's going to be a big difference. But I still think FAMU's got the edge there. Now, when I go D line, I'm giving that to FAMU. I think even though you're going to lose Kamari Stevens, he's not coming back. It's just It is what it is. That's gonna be okay. Um, and because we're just so deep there. That's a position where I think FAMU, if healthy, is the best team in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Let's just put it there. Linebacker, again, I'm going back to FAMU, and not because and this is bias. I'm gonna say this. Linebacker is completely biased. Some of that is just because when I saw Southern's linebackers, they were solid, but they just didn't flash. It's just nothing about them blew me away. And not a critique of the talent. It's just me being an honest person and being honest in the moment to tell you my bias is going to lead me to think. Now, Southern could be better in that position, but when I'm looking at major, when I'm looking at more coming down, I'm looking at FAMU's linebacking core and the two deep. I'm gonna lean to FAMU in that position. Now, when it comes to secondary, honestly, secondary, these Florida boys and Louisiana boys, it's honestly a toss up. They're gonna compete. Southern's gonna compete. It's just again, this is another position where this is my bias, my knowledge of FAMU pushing me to FAMU. I think Bowler Island is gonna be an issue over there, especially if all things go well and whatever have you. I think that's gonna be a guy that is going to be a shutdown corner. Um, I shouldn't say shutdown corner. Shutdown corner is not the right thing to say. He's going to be a dominant corner. There we go. I think that's better. I think when you tell me shutdown corner, I think prime. I think a corner that just Revis prime, name your guy. Dante Hall is best, or D'Angelo, sorry, in his prime, like the corner where he's him. Jalen Ramsey in his prime. Those guys that there's a side of the ball over there, but I'm not gonna throw that side because if I do, that dude's gonna wreak havoc. Right? I think Kendall has that potential. I don't know if he becomes that this year, but that leans me towards FAMU secondary. And I think FAMU's safeties are probably a little better just because again, when I saw Southern's secondary, they're good. They're gonna compete. I mean, they're DB, but I'm pushing that towards I'm pushing that towards FAMU side. And kicking, I told y'all kicking that thing this year, especially because we got new kickers. Special teams are going to FAMU though, just because when I did go back and check that spring game from Southern, I think the kicker misses 3 field goals. FAMU's kicker wasn't great, but we got a punter coming in, and so that's where I got FAMU. And when I pull my tail of the tape, that had me FAMU or something as far as position for position, coaching wise. I think it's a watch. I mean, this is not a game where I'm sitting over here saying Willie is just so much better than Dooley and Dooley is so much better than Willie. I think they're both great coaches. And I think this is going to be one of the games where both coaches are going to be their worst enemies as far as these two, in my opinion, are the closest thing to football savants that you have in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And the problem with that is sometimes they're too damn smart. Like these are the two coaches that they can break down X's and O's in a way that, I feel like those are the guys. I feel like the best offensive mind in the conference is probably between Willie and maybe sometimes Maynard, like especially when slinging the rock. Like I think Maynard is different. Like I'm just gonna say that respectfully. Like Alabama A&M, y'all got a good one. If he had a defensive coordinator that he could just get that over to, yeah, and a little bit better talent pool, he'd be solid. But this might be one of the games where each coach is gonna have that Dooleyism or Willieism. Like, Willie's gonna Willie, Dooley's gonna Dooley. Last year, Dooley with the quarterback, like just being stubborn. Like, dude, you got a bench, B. Sean McCoy. Like, respectfully, he's not ill as a kid. He's a Florida guy, but he was not your best quarterback. And I think you kind of heard that when you go back and you watch that preseason. It was one of the news stations where they interviewed Dooley after. He's like, "Yeah, blood, looked different." He end of the season, he just was, really solid quarterback. He did so much growth. To me, I took that as coach speak to say, I played the wrong guy. That's what I took it as. I could be wrong, and if I am, I would appreciate it. Any Southern person corrects me. I'm not above reproach, but that was just my approach. But this is going to be the one where the two defenses, it's going to be some fun. It's going to be some hitting. This is going to be a game where I'm excited. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to see what chess matches we see come out of it. I do feel like FAMU leans more on their running game than we did last year. We had a trick play last year. Like this is a game where again, FAMU, you look at the final score, it's like, man, we beat their butts. But when you really go watch the game, it was closer than you probably think it was. And Musa had a pretty solid game. Like we had one turnover. I believe that was Terrell Jennings had a fumble. Other than that, FAMU's pretty solid. So this is a game that I think it's going to be a four-quarter game. You're going to want to watch it probably going into the fourth quarter. If so, it's going to be one of those games where if you're FAMU, you got to go into halftime with a lead. You can't be playing with Southern. Right? A.W. Mumford Stadium is not a place to play around in just because it's a vibe. Like if you've never been to Southern for a football game, I'm telling you, it is. I mean, outside of Bragg, that's my best HBCU experience as far as like at some else's stadium. Like it was a vibe. Like it was confrontational, but still like it was that uncomfortable feeling of going to somebody's house and it was hostile. But at the same point, you were like, while I'm not really comfortable here, I'm comfortable here, if that makes sense. Like Southern fans were not playing that time we won. We won. Like we won. It was like, okay, it's a fun rivalry. Like this is for me, FAMU wise, this is our nastiest rivalry. Like this is one where we'll mess with each other a little bit more during the game, and we'll say some stuff to each other that may hurt each other's feelings. And after the game, it is what it is. Where Cookman is not a nasty rivalry. We just talk trash about them all the time. Like they talk trash about us, we talk trash about them. Like it is what it is. But this game here, I think when you start looking at it, you're gonna notice that between the trenches, where the game's going to be won at. And I think FAMU's got that decisive advantage. And I feel like we're going to be able to see. I told y'all we petty. Look. It wasn't me. It was not me. I know I'm not petty. It's still Brad. Look, we'll take that down for this. Somebody screenshot it. But look, it's a fun environment. I'll say that, and I hope our fans do show up. Because we have Texas Southern after that. So I'm gonna tell you, a lot of the FAMU fans are going to Houston instead of Baton Rouge for this. I'll give you that. But it's gonna be an interesting one. I will say the only thing the SWAC may want to reconsider with this one, I love playing Southern, but if we're gonna play every, you gotta make sure you kind of do it like you did this year. Don't put us back with like give each team give us a buffer between that and so that way maybe the bands can travel, but also don't back this up next before the classic. Unless FAMU's at home. Like it's just one of those games. Certain rivalries don't need to be matched up right behind each other. These are our rivals. Jackson State, you're not our rivals. We just haven't beaten you in a decade. A lot of that is just we just F up. Like I can lie to you, I can tell you the truth. Like Willie Simmons' first season, he makes a mistake. And some of that was related to headsets, weather, whatever. We're not gonna even go on about that. But this game, I think it's gonna be a little lower scoring than in previous years. Partially, I think the weather is gonna come to play. Early October, it starts to cool down. At night, it can get into the 60s up there. Just because again, location, whatnot. I'm gonna say I'm giving FAMU to win. I was on the fence with this one because for a second I had Southern. I ain't gonna lie. This is one of those games. This is one of my toss-ups, and this to me is going to be one of your top two games that if you are, I almost say gambler. I'll say if you're a gambler, I wouldn't gamble on this game. This one and the Alabama State game, I probably would avoid unless some crazy things happen, just because you might lose this one. This is gonna be tighter. than you think. And I'm not gonna hit you with all the history and the tradition and all the other stuff because if we're being honest, history and tradition have very few bearings on a rivalry. All that matters is what happens that day. It don't matter what happened 10 years ago, unless it happened the previous year and you really just upset the other team and they trying to get some get back, it's not gonna matter. In this case, we've got a winning streak on Southern. That's definitely gonna be stated. We beat them last year at Bragg. It was we beat them soundly. The players are gonna be able to say, "Man, if we had a better quarterback, we might have won that game. We got a better quarterback this year. Let's prove it." This is gonna be one of those games where this is on my two. This is one of let me see. This is one of my two. Watch out for it. I'm gonna say this one though. I'm going 28, and ooh, I typed 38. 28, 24. I think this is gonna be 28, 24. Um, I would say 25, but I just don't like 25 as a number because I don't normally see people get from 22. This is gonna be one of those games where you're throwing a Hail Mary. And Southern's got some receivers with some size. Fortunately, FAMU's got size in the secondary now, so we hopefully won't give up as many jump balls. But this could be a last-second game. This could be the game where people are hitting drums, the bands are staying up, and this could be one of those games where the way it could be a heartbreak. And in this one, just because I have a little more I have a little more confidence in FAMU's quarterback, a lot more confidence in FAMU's line of scrimmage. Not to say Southern's bad. The Southern D line was wreaking havoc against FAMU at times. But because of those factors, and because I think that Southern is gonna still be figuring themselves out, I think in 2 weeks it's gonna be a different story. And I'll say this: if this game is replayed in the SWAC championship, woo, look, Julie, look, last year Southern was a different team at the end of the season. They were actually like competitive in that, matchup against Jackson State for a little bit. Like, hey, just go back and look. If this is your end of season finale for the SWAC championship, man, um, especially with them two bands, man, you gotta show like 43-24 against what Jackson State had last year, the Monstars. I'm sorry, the Monstars they had, and that game it was competitive for a good little minute. I'm just saying, um, you know, okay, that first quarter was butt cheeks, but yeah, like they tried to put up a little fight for a minute. I'm thinking that first game probably. Let me go back. Sorry, I like to I'll fact check myself. No. Yeah, it was that game. They tried to put up a fight for a minute. Like they got blown out, but kind of early on, I felt like so that chance. Um, but yeah, I really think this team. I don't know. Be careful with this one. I'll say that if this is your rematch for the SWAC championship, um, mhm. It's crazy. SU games have historically look. I'm with you on this one. I don't have that one, but go back and watch, man. Southern FAMU games are always classics. So I will say that. And so this is one of those. I tell you, I'm always a throw the records out the type person, but Southern FAMU is just weird. It's one of those games that routinely comes down to the last minute. It is. I've been to Southern games both at AW Mumford, Bragg, at the with Miss Williams up there in Atlanta. I think we did the Atlanta Football Classic one year. It's a game like the Heritage Bowl. Like Southern FAMU, we just have that respectful rivalry because the games are always tight because the playing styles are normally comparable. The bands are competitive. It's just, excuse me, it's that game that it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, but it's also going to be very close, and you're going to be aggravated more likely than not. It's not normally a game that you're just, hey, halftime, we can go home. Like, no. Even then, at least wait till the human jukebox gets off the field and they do their thing, and 100 do their thing because it's a really fun game, great atmosphere. The Bayou and the Gulf Coast cultures kind of come together, and and you get all the other people from Florida. So it's going to be a good game. I think again, FAMU wins 28-24, largely because I think FAMU dominates the line of scrimmage, and I think FAMU dominates the line of scrimmage by being able to establish a if you missed uh, the Brian Fulford and talking right before my show, he said, "Hey, he got FAMU top 5 or top 3 in SWAC running games," and I was nodding. Yep, I think FAMU's running game is gonna be much improved, and that's gonna be why we win this game 28-24. I don't know what special teams looks like because I wanna see what Harold Blood looks like during the season and how he grasps and gets comfortable in Dooley's offense, because if he can get comfortable in Dooley's offense, he's the type of quarterback that can give FAMU fits. FAMU struggles against mobile quarterbacks that can either run or pass. I mean, I'm not saying do one or the other, I mean do both and do it reasonably well, give FAMU fits. We saw that with Shedeur. Granted, Shedeur was a pocket passer for a lot of that first season. Go back and watch that OBC last year if you can stomach it. He starts becoming very mobile, and he learned how to slide. Change the game. Completely change the game, change the game plan. Go back and look at last year's Southern game. Again, I reinstate. Their quarterback ran for 200 yards and threw for like 138, something like that. If that. And he was what really his running skills changed the game. I mean, if they started running more option type plays, it definitely may have changed. Go look at every quarterback who was a reasonable run and pass threat and what they did against FAMU. And you're going to notice that those guys gave FAMU problems, and that in this game, I think that's going to be the difference. Southern's at home. A.W. Mumford's just it's an atmosphere. You know, it's not this. It's second, third largest stadium in the conference. Ain't saying much, but still, it's a different vibe. It's a different atmosphere, and it's just the stadium sits up just a little bit, so the sound stays in there just a little differently. It's gonna be a pretty good game. Quick recap though, because y'all know I'm be staying for 3 4 hours. Not by myself. I ain't doing that. Uh, I hit up on the elephant in the room. I did talk about the music video thing a little bit and just kind of told y'all, look, I really gave you a new opinion on it. The coaches are going to have a talk tomorrow with the players. We do know that. They're also going to have a SWAC Media Day Tuesday. And they pretty much shut down operations. And I loved how, and I referenced other people, 83 pointed out, Drew pointed out, yo, this week was going to be a nothing week. And I'm like, pretty much, because Friday you had the strikes tour going on. That's going to be taking place in South Florida. Got that thing handy here somewhere. I think I do. Nope, I don't. So that's going to be coming up down in South Florida with the good people in Miami-Dade County. So get ready for that. If you haven't noticed, then FAMU's been doing these strike tours where they've been going around. To be honest with y'all, it's $20K to get them. So I think we've had about 5 strike tours. Cities, that's about $100,000. Is that what we did in previous years? No, but if you're comparing what somebody did who had been at FAMU for 3 years compared to what somebody's done who's been here for 6 months, you got to give them a little slack there. Also, we got a lot of other FAMU events. The Broward chapter, they're doing a send-off August 5th, 2 o'clock. They're trying to do a little something. Check this out. It's on the FAMU Twitter page, Fangs Up Twitter page, Florida Regional Booster Twitter page, Rattler Boosters Twitter pages, also on their Instagrams and their Facebooks as well. But come check these out. They're sending the kids to the highest of 7. Some of y'all will be nothing without them, little $5 handshakes that turn into $100 handshakes. So, a lot of going on there. Also, August 5th, I love HBCU Day Party. You see them other schools there. Willow, EWC, Cookman, and of course, Florida A&M University. That is hosted by the Tampa Rattlers. Man, so you start the alumni association trying to do a little something, keep y'all engaged. Another send-off got going on here. So you got this one is Tampa and the Plant chapters. trying to send those babies off with a little bit of money. Go check out their Twitter pages if you want to see more, Instagram as well. And Marion County, right up the street in Ocala, they're doing something on the 12th. So you're starting to see, look, it's fall. Put a little some of these babies' money. And of course, the the Booster Club, National Booster Club, National Alumni Next. Booster Club, they got the fall sports kickoff. This is a fundraiser. They're doing a silent auction. All proceeds raised at the silent auction are going to help the athletics program, especially though they're trying to focus on the fall. That's your SWAC champion FAMU volleyball team. Also, you're going to see a picture of my man Booster up there dropping dimes and everything else, as well as some of the other fall sports that are going to be involved, cross country and the lot. Lastly, you can start to see the hotel list for the National Alumni Association has been dropped. Look, don't wait around to the last minute. Be better than me. I'm live. OBC, I'm waiting to the last minute to get my hotel. But go get your hotels now. In the words of Clifford Harris, be better than me. T, I told you. Keith is confirmed. Be better than me. Oh, but get your hotels. These are some of the locations. This information is available on the National Alumni Association's social media pages. You can see every city's got a hotel. Some are booking faster than others. I will highly suggest, especially if you're going to Houston, lock that down. If you haven't heard, I told you last month, probably one of the first ones to start putting y'all on game. The University of Houston is playing the University of Texas the same day that FAMU is playing Texas Southern, and the schools are not far from each other as far as proximity. And we've also been told that there is no tailgating at the Texas Southern property. So supposedly there's some things happening with the events. So don't know if I'm supposed to tell you that, but hey, it's what it is. Govern yourselves accordingly. Lastly, you see the Rattlers on the yard. This is taking place up there in Massachusetts, almost in Maryland. So go check out their website. They're trying to do a little something. So you can start to see, man, whole lot of stuff going on. Also, Results Only Fitness, check them out. Hey, did you miss the special? You missed the special. It's okay. Go check them out. Results Only Fitness. You still got it going. And the first month, it's still the first month. You might be able to, get you a couple days still in there. You know, as I mentioned, with the hotels, touchdown in Tampa Bay. AC Hotel, Tampa Airport, National Alumni Association is working with the FAMU NAA chapter in Tampa. Get your hotel. The hotel is right by the airport. So depending how you feel about that, the airport's not far from the football stadium. So if you haven't been to Tampa, it is what it is. Also, Helmet and Heels, as far as I know, is still on. Go check that out. And lastly, OG sponsor, Cable Busters, cablebusterstv.com. Who you gonna call? Cable Busters. 3 devices, $35 a month. Get 24-hour trial. You can expand that up to 5. So, but one device, how much you paying for cable right now? I'll wait. Yeah, $35. Who you gonna call? Cable Busters. So, but yeah, man, a lot of stuff going on, man. Obviously, outside of the FAMU foolishness, and I ain't gonna dwell on that for too long. So until Thursday at 8:30. I threw my phone over there. It might, if time permits, we'll have a live show. If not, it'll be a recording. But we are going to definitely get y'all ready for the Texas Southern game. Kind of what to expect, what to do. As you can see, they give you a chance to get your ducats, straight. Get your money straight. You got 3 straight away games. So before a home game, this game's going to be in Houston, Texas, October 21st, the day before the best day ever. I'm put the cash app in for that. I ain't gonna lie. I don't normally do that, but I'm gonna drop the cash app. But that's gonna be an interesting game. FAMU gets to see. I'm gonna steal your thing, Scotty. Everybody! And that can be fun because I need to check. Look, I'm going to Texas right now. There's a story to tell with this because we got Andrew Body, and Andrew Body is a sophomore. So you got potentially 2 years against this guy. He's probably a junior this year, but um, yeah, so he should be a junior. So you get Andrew Body in his junior year, and the next year you get Andrew Body at Bragg. That's gonna be fun. I ain't gonna lie, and that's gonna be a really interesting game, interesting competition. These days, that's the other question. I know he's not the tallest guy, but that's gonna be interesting. Like FAMU, Texas Southern, first time meeting up in a long time, and yeah, man, all the Houston Rattlers, y'all get a chance to talk trash on this one. So, and after that one, though, Willie back. Ooh, flag football is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a great season in athletics. I'm trying to find him. Honestly, I got two potentials. I got two possibles, but I think we might, go all the way out on paper. So, all right, y'all. That's it though. Big shout out HBCU Digital Network. This is home the Fangs Up podcast. Also, Herb Seward and the Techies. If you haven't checked out Herb's band podcast and his band everything he's doing, follow bands. Honestly, check him out on social media, Twitter page. Herb is an OG and he works very hard as far as really an OG for the network. Herb was here before me. So but also check out the upcoming events. Man, fun times. But HBCU Digital Network, we're working with a spring game that's going to be in Chicago. So go check us out. Get ready for that. Get excited. You can see the network growing. We're starting to do some things, man. Look. I'm just gonna leave that up there. So I'm gonna let that. We're gonna go out with that on the show. So as y'all know, always, if nothing else, it's always gonna be things up. And make sure y'all know we want to become a little more defensive and gatekeeping about some of this new stuff. You ain't gonna keep talking greasy about my university, I can't let that keep happening, So, but as always, y'all, this will be Fangs Up.
Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Dorsey